Hi everybody, I'm going to show you, I'm going to touch on several things for this watercolor demo. So right now, this is my watercolor palette, and I have this red violet, I have yellow ochre, I have Davies gray, I have a little bit of yellow ochre. Now sorry, my nose. Now, with watercolor, you can rehydrate, but gouache, you can't. Another thing is my paper right there, as you can see, this is Fabriano cold pressed. It's 9 inches by 12 inches. But notice all sides are taped down. I don't want anybody doing little corners or even one side. You want to make sure all sides are taped down. I'm going to do a demo today using these little bottles. Pardon for their appearance if they look dirty, but it's okay. I just want to use them for shape and color and for this exercise of drawing with color with your brush, but also describing the planes of color. And so that's what I want to show you today. And if I get a chance within this demo to also do dry brush, but I'll probably have to make another video of that because you have to wait for your surface underneath to dry first and then to do dry brush on top. So I have my 2 cups of water. You always want to make sure you have that. I've got plenty of brushes. So now I'm going to and I've got paper towel or cloth. You want to make sure you have that. So now the next thing is to put out colors that I see within my still life. So I'm not making like a big watercolor, so I'm not going to put out a lot of paint. Put out this ivory black at the end. And this color that I just put out was Perylene Maroon. This is all watercolor, and the brand is Holbein, because that's what I like. This is Shell Pink. And I'm going to put out Yellow Gray. I like that color. Ooh, that was a lot. And let's see. I have a peach black too, but I'm trying to see. I'm going to put out Payne's Gray as well. So I'm going to use these colors that are on my palette to, so there's 2 things. So you could describe what you're seeing with, if accuracy is important to you, with the colors choosing colors that will make these colors, the temperature and the values describing these objects. Or, you could put out colors that, that you want to paint with, you're the artist. Either way is fine. Oh, that's a hair. Okay. So there we have the colors. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this bottle. So what I'm going to start with, like for this and this portion, I'm going to use a round watercolor brush. And here's my round watercolor brush. This is Winsor & Newton, and I've had this for a long time. You can see how worn it is. So again, I always talk to you guys both about gouache and for watercolor, water control. So only dipping the tip. See that? Oh, let's see if you can see it. Sorry. I only dipped it's hard to see, but I only dipped the tip. There you go. See the tip? I didn't, dunk it in. Only dipped the tip in water. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a little bit of this yellow gray, a tiny bit, because I want to make a wash. And also I'm looking at the scale of this shape. So I'm just going to choose a tiny bit. I'm not making a big painting. So this is now my dirty cup of water, the blue jar that you saw. And I have a clear small jar for my clean water. So there, I dried it off on the paper towel after cleaning it off in the dirty cup of water. I dipped the tip again in the clean jar of water now, and I'm adding, see how light that is? That's a wash. Now I can make it even lighter with more water. So let's try that out. Here, let me show you. There we go. I took some of that color and I put it in there. Again, rinse off my brush, dry it off, tip, add more water. See how that's lighter compared to that? So you can continue that and making a lighter wash. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this Davy's Gray and I'm going to mix it in there and see how it changed the color, that Davy's Gray with that yellow gray. See that? So that's what I'm going to do. So now I have my round brush, right? I scooped up the color, and here, see that little dot? That's called a watercolor bead. And see how I put it down just like that? So now what I'm going to do is I'm drawing with it. So I'm pulling that color down to there. Okay? So see how I described the neck of the bottle, the front plane right now. So now I'm going to go ahead and rinse off this brush. And I'm going to, now the thing is we don't want our color, I'm just doing the wet medium on dry paper technique. That Perlene red is really pretty. So there it is. That's a saturated color, but see, it could be a little bit deeper because my brush is wet. See how deep, right? And see how fluid this is? Deep value, saturated color, right? Now, my brush is loaded. See, I go like that. You don't want to smear. One moment. Sorry, my cat hopped up. You don't want to smear, like people have a tendency to keep doing like that, and it's like you don't want to do that. You don't need to push your paint into the palette. This is enough, and I just scoop it up like that. And now see, you can manipulate. See how you watch me use the tip, you watch me use it planerly, like we look at in gouache, again, planerly, horizontally. Look how I'm holding my brush. And I'm describing the front plane. Now I'm doing an outline with my brush, right? And I can going like that. And when you run out of paint, you go back into your palette and you scoop. And so, there we go. So I'm blocking in right now. So I'm filling this area in with color. Doing an outline on this side. Pushing that bead around. See how it goes like that? Pushing that bead around. And I can correct my drawing with my brush. Just right now, I'm not doing that. Just want to show you how I'm laying it down. Right? So what you would do is you want to look at this in planes. This is like a curved object, right? But we have a front plane, we have two side planes, and we have a back plane. And we can apply that to this as well, the top part. So right now I'm just showing you the frontal planes, but you understand now what I'm talking about. And you know, you can't, with watercolor and with working with gouache, you can't totally do alla prima, wet into wet in one sitting. And you know, you could, unless if you want to really describe this form and like be accurate with the shapes and the colors, you have to wait for layers to dry and go back into. But now you've seen saturated color. One moment. Sorry. Ding. So I'm cleaning off my brush again. And I'm going to show you the top part. So I dip my brush, tip again, in clean water. I'm using that Davy's Gray. Now that's a wash. See how light it is? A little bit of color. It's not saturated. If it was saturated, right? Look how pronounced that is, right? That's more saturated. Could be even more saturated than that. See, that's even more. So paying attention to what is a wash and what's a saturated color, which is a deep value. So I'm just going to go with this. And here, I could do a thin line. Now there's wet into wet. I actually don't mind that. I actually like that. But there, if you want to do wet into wet, you know, you have a wet area and then you go into it with another wet medium. But if you want to do wet medium on dry paper, see how I just laid that down plainly, right, with my round brush? There. There's that. So describing that. So now, here, I'll describe another object. You know, another thing too. So here again with the watercolor brush. Let me load it with color. Planer. Planer. There's planer. Planer vertical. Planer horizontal. Look at the side, planar linear, vertical, planar, not planar, excuse me, linear vertical, linear horizontal, planar horizontal, planar vertical, linear vertical, linear horizontal, line, line, plane, plane. Okay, now I'm going to describe another one. So here's black. And I'm going to put a little bit, see that's a saturated color, but see it's not, it's still a little sticky. So you just need to add a little more water. Now look, it's fluid, still a saturated color, still a deep value. Sorry, my nose. Okay. And so you can take a little bit, I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow gray. And I'm going to go like this. There. I described the front plane of the lid and see how it's curved. See how I'm applying it horizontally? Then, right, I can do like an outline, planar. Outline, planar to describe the front plane of this little container from Lush. See, that can curve. That goes like that. Goes like that. There we go. Actually, this needs to be more curved. But again, you can also leave the white of the space in between, or you can wait till it dries and you can further develop it. But this is drawing with your brush and laying in with color. And it's not just only associated to these objects. You know, it can be to anything. It could be to a figure. It could be to a landscape. It could be to a cityscape, to a seascape, to animals. It's endless. But I think this was helpful. I think so. We did a bit of wet into wet here, right? Line, plane. We did massing in. I showed you how to draw with the brush, planar and linearly. I showed you saturated color. I showed you washes. We talked about value, light and dark. You know, if you want to make a medium value, which is a mid-tone value, here we go. Take some of this color, and I would add a little bit of water. And I would say that's a medium value, so a mid-tone. Ooh. So there's that watercolor bead. And there we go. All right, I'll take a picture of this too. Thank you so much.